I see Joe the Nerd is already asking people if they are recession ready. I guess I know how Joe is voting in today's poll question, huh? By the way, a lot of purple going on today. I hope you like it. Get lucky in no time at Parks Casino Shippensburg, exit 29 off Interstate 81. Parks Casino is my casino of choice. Take my recommendation to check out all the action, the entertainment, the excitement that they have to offer. Central PA is what I'm talking about. It's 100% smoke free. And with the weekend now upon us, it's a great time to go to Parks Casino in Shippensburg. 500 state of the art slot machines, 48 live dealer electronic table games featuring blackjack and roulette, plus a great daily happy hour and the award winning Liberty Bar and Grill. Tonight, comedy night. Get out and mingle and watch the comedy patriot Paul Bond. He headlines tonight, and then live music on Saturday nights. There's nothing like seeing live music, right? You go out and you watch a great cover band, fun stuff. You're among people. Well, they've got that Saturday night in the side pocket. Parks Casino Shippensburg. They celebrate military veterans every Monday. Just show your military veteran ID and get a free hot dog lunch with chips and a soda as a big thank you from Parks Casino. Then every Tuesday, it's the 50% golden discount. All guests 50 and older enjoy a 50% discount, 50% off, all at Foodies inside Parks Casino Shippensburg, which is also 100% smoke-free. Have some fun in Shippensburg, Hagerstown, Maryland, Winchester, Virginia, Chambersburg, PA, Martinsburg, West Virginia, and many, many more. You're all real close. Visit Parks, PARXCasino.com. Got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Before I get to the poll question of the day, in this case for today, Friday the 4th, man, time flies, 4th of April, I usually give you the day before poll result. Actually, I want to do a little better than that. Just bear with me as I get to, I want to go back, I don't know, a week in time. I want to go back a week in time. Let's see if I remember why I was asking these respective poll questions. I guess it was, last Saturday. I'll start there. Last Saturday, has President Trump already weathered the worst of the signal controversy? 55,400. 63%, let's say 2/3 said no, he has not. How do you feel about that today? Last Saturday, 2/3 of a football stadium, like a D1 football stadium worth of voters at Smerconish.com, said that Trump, the worst is yet to come for signal. That's what you're saying. And I feel like today I have to explain what is the signal controversy, because it's been totally eclipsed now by tariffs and talk of recession. So just kind of interesting in retrospect. The following day, which was a Sunday, I asked about James Carville, because Carville had been my guest on CNN on Saturday the 29th. And when I asked him, James, a month ago, you said that Donald Trump would collapse the administration in about a month's time, but certainly by Memorial Day. What do you think now? Carville's answer was, well, Michael, it's a matter of tense. Is he collapsing or has he already collapsed? But either way, it's on, said the Ragin' Cajun. So I asked last Sunday, is James Carville right in saying the Trump administration is in a state of collapse, or is that just wishful thinking? This is kind of interesting. 62%, again, big vote, 35,832. 62% said it's wishful thinking. So even though oftentimes the responses to our poll questions are very progressive in their reply, in this case, 62% said, nah, that's Carville being wishful in his thinking. Trump is not collapsing. Interesting. Monday, looking back at the last 3 years, would you say the U.S. support for Ukraine was too little, too much, or like the porridge, just right? 37,102. 70% and change said too little. Actually, I kind of like going back over several days. I might do this from time to time because there are thoughts that I want to offer in each instance. In this case, yesterday, Adam Entis was a guest. Adam Entis, who wrote this very deep dive about U.S. involvement in Ukraine that was previously not in the public domain. And really, really interesting just in terms of how far we came to guide Ukraine. We all know we've given them money. We all know we've given them weaponry. That's been very transparent. But our support for Ukraine far transcends that. And don't get me wrong, I want us to be supportive of Ukraine. I think that we've thrown Zelensky under the bus. And as I discussed with Adam Entis yesterday, and now it looks like Putin is not taking the bait and is seeking to drive a harder bargain with Trump. Wanting every scrap on the table instead of just the land that he's already, through war, starting in 2014 with Crimea, been able to claim for Russia. But our audience thinks we haven't done enough for Ukraine. April Fool's Day, Tuesday. Is it fair to lay substantial blame on the law firms who settled with President Trump to get off his blacklist? 33,000 and change voted. 78% of us say yes. And I'm going to do a commentary on that subject, unless breaking news upends my plan, tomorrow on CNN. I think this is really one of the most under-discussed stories of the week and last week. It's how Trump has been able to silence dissent. Democrats, they can't do anything. They all they can do is offer Cory Booker to go on for 25 hours, which was fine, to his credit. Amazing, frankly, as a feat of urinary engineering. I don't know. But in the end, what does it really get them other than feeling good for a day that they had a champion? Nothing. But the law firms and academia and the media outlets, they're all folding their tents to Donald Trump. Wednesday, April 2nd, just for shits and giggles, who would win this race in 2028? Barack Obama or Donald Trump? Again, 39,955. We're like right on the cusp of consistently getting 40,000 daily votes at Smerconish.com, which is just awesome. 90.1% said Obama wins. And I was in that category. Obama wins that race. No, the race is never happened. Didn't you hear me? I said for shits and giggles. It's never happening. It's never happening. Michelle's never happening. None of it's ever happening. But if people are going to talk about the 22nd Amendment being disregarded for Donald Trump, then let's talk about it for Barack Obama as well. Brings us to yesterday. If Trump's tariffs boost American manufacturing, will they outweigh the downsides, such as higher prices and strained international relations? Might the ends justify the means? Again, 39,820. Are they the same 39,000 people who keep voting? 88% said no. No, the ends will not justify the means. The ends will not justify the means, which brings us to today's poll question. And I think it has to be. Let me just get you my, this is my New York Times today. Page 1 above the fold, tariff shockwaves circle the globe. And I'll do the rush thing. The lead stories, because there are a pair of them. 1980s grievances are framed as emergency, and markets dive as countries vow reprisal. And then there's a big graph on the front page of the Times today showing the major government borrowing and spending plans buoyed the markets in Germany and China earlier this year. So how are the respective stock markets doing comparatively around the globe? Very interesting. Germany up 5%. China up 3%. The United Kingdom down 0.5%. Canada down 3%. The United States and Japan both at the bottom down 10%. What happened yesterday and what's about to happen? I've got all this coverage in today's newsletter. Trust you're a subscriber. If you're not, please sign up for my free and worthy newsletter at Smerconish.com. Stocks plummeted. This is from CNBC. Stocks plummeted on Thursday, sending the S&P 500 back into correction territory for its biggest one-day loss since 2020 after President Trump unveiled sweeping tariffs, raising the risk of global trade wars and plunging the economy into recession. The broad market index dropped 4.84% and settled at 5,396. Its worst day since June of 2020. The Dow Jones Industrial Average tumbled 1,679 points. That's a 3.98% loss. NASDAQ plummeted 5.9%, ended at 16,000 and change. Yada, yada, yada. The day's move sent the S&P 500 to its lowest level since before Trump's election in November. I mean, the market had been on fire. And when you look at the specifics for multinational brands, Nike and Apple dropped 14 and 19% respectively. Big sellers of imported goods among the hardest hit. Five Below lost 28%. Dollar Tree, 13%. Gap, 20%. Nvidia, 8%. Tesla down more than 5%. So a brutal day in the markets yesterday. And the futures aren't looking so good as I speak. So what happens now, and what of my question about a recession? Let me tell you what different perspectives, far more informed than yours truly, are saying. A March CNBC Fed survey put the probability of recession at 36%. That's up from 23%. Okay. A CNBC Fed survey says 36%. Now I'm looking at Newsweek. Newsweek looks at the betting markets. Interesting. What are the betting markets saying? As of yesterday, the likelihood of a 2025 downturn surpassed 50% on Kalshi and 47% on Polymarket. Okay, so you've got the Fed survey is at 36%. The betting markets are at about 50%. Here's more perspective. This comes from, this is important. This is JP Morgan. And the source is the Economic Times. A wave of economic anxiety has gripped Wall Street following Donald Trump's sweeping new tariffs, with leading banks warning of an impending recession. A report from Bloomberg says that JP Morgan's chief economist, Bruce Kasman, now sees a 60%. So you got 36% from the Fed survey. The betting markets are at 50%. Bruce Kasman at JP Morgan now says better than half likelihood of a global recession in 2025. That's up from 40%. The effect of this tax hike is likely to be magnified through retaliation. By the way, the Chinese already at 36% tariff that they've now already imposed on us. Slide in U.S. business sentiment and supply chain disruptions. He wrote in a note titled, "There Will Be Blood." And then finally, one more perspective that I want to give to you, because he was a guest of mine just 2 days ago, right here on POTUS. Mark Zandi, the chief economist at Moody's, has raised his forecast from 15% to 40%. So there are a variety of perspectives ranging from 36% to 60%, which makes it a hell of a poll question today at Smerconish.com. Has President Trump just triggered a recession? I'm monitoring it in real time, and it looks like it's a very lopsided vote. What's the president saying? I watched his live presser in the 5 o'clock hour last night aboard Air Force One, projecting as he was flying to Florida a very calm demeanor. Despite economic warnings, Trump remains adamant about his tariff strategy. Speaking aboard Air Force One, he dismissed speculation that tariffs would target only a handful of countries, insisting you'd start with all countries. So let's see what happens. The White House has projected the tariffs could generate up to $600 billion in revenue per year, a claim met with skepticism by economists who argue that consumers and businesses will bear the cost. I'm in the no category. As to whether he just triggered a recession. Am I defending the slipshod approach of all of this? Absolutely. I'm not defending any of it, in the same way that I like that Doge is trying to address waste, fraud, and abuse. I hope with an eye toward a $36 trillion debt. I don't like the methodology. Time and time again, the heavy-handedness is what I object to, not necessarily what they're trying to do. You know, the trampling of civil liberties as we try and protect the border, not something I approve of. Protecting the border, yes. It's a shame that Trump has to be the first of any president in my lifetime to really say enough already with porous borders. So the objective is admirable. The way of getting there is too heavy-handed. Do I think he's triggered a recession? I don't. But I think that today is a big day, and I think that next week is big, and I think that how nations respond and whether they can unify in their response is the key to all of this. If they're cutting individual deals, and if the Trump administration is improving our hand as a country, then I think we'll be just fine. If those nations form alliances and want to negotiate collectively with us, I think we've got a big problem. But I really don't know. I really don't know. I'd be lying if I told you I had a fixed view and I had all the answers. In this case, I don't. I just don't. Go vote at Smerconish.com. Did President Trump just trigger a recession? Please go vote on the website. Like and subscribe. Thank you so much for being here for YouTube Live. Seaway 0606 and Jeffrey Wood and Pete Froelich and Jim Greiner and Dave the Worm Nail and Jamal and Stephen Smith. Appreciate all you guys. I really do. Like and subscribe. Set yourself up for notifications, and I'll see you soon.